and I put a lot of energy into it, but it quite frankly felt extremely flat. And yet none of it was wasted. What came as a huge surprise to me was that I came back into the work of sacred sexual awakening and healing at a brand new octave of my own being, of the work itself, and of the planet's readiness for the work. And now I'm on fire with it in a way that I couldn't be before breast cancer.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. And I want to talk about that unknown because, I'm doing that as well at the moment. And probably women who are listening, some of our listeners who have been listening to me for a while might be identifying with that as well. So how did that make you feel when you were going through that and, knowing that you had, already gone through all this healing? And I'm saying that in a way as like you're kind of primed to go through the unknown because you've gone through some of this healing. Let me know if any of that, really makes sense or not for you at the time.
It does. Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. It was uncomfortable and it was absolutely necessary. And I knew that. I mean, breast cancer is a very, very big wake-up call. I took it very seriously. And at the same time, I chose to have a joyful experience with it. And so part of it was that even though I'd been doing a lot of work around my healing, especially coming more into my feminine and less in my masculine expression, balancing them, I was still very masculine in my expression, very much a go-getter, a mover and shaker. And so being in that cauldron of the unknown was a way of being really, truly in that receptive space, not necessarily just physically, but very much energetically. Like instead of choosing with my mind, this is what I'm going to do, it was about opening to what came towards me so that my soul could really choose and really embark on the path that was designed, that I designed for myself in this life at a soul level. So it was uncomfortable, and yet I knew it was necessary. And when it finally showed up, it was so powerful. It was like a lightning bolt. And it took almost 5 years. That's a long time to be waiting. And I wasn't just cooling my heels, of course. That's not my style. I had things that I was doing. I had work I was doing. I thought, well, maybe I'll go back to school. Maybe I'll learn this or that other thing. I was exploring what are my interests now? What do I like? What do I enjoy? And yet, when I was shown, it was so powerful that there was no mistaking that this was my soul's calling and that I was being called to a global vision. It was worth waiting for.
Yes, definitely. I think many of us are being called right now for a global vision. I am as well. It's just to really, it's just synchronous the way we met. We just kind of messengered each other, and we realized we're on the same page, and we're like, whoa, okay, let's talk. But it is really beautiful, and I think you're right. This is the time. This is all happening for many of us, and those of us who are maybe calling others to come in. And I wanted to ask you about your intuition. You said you were more of you utilized your masculine energies more. And as you were walking into this unknown, you were doing this healing, did you find your intuitive powers were heightened?
Oh, absolutely. And that's really a process. It's a lifelong process. And that's something I've been working with for a very long time. I would say probably something more like closer to 20 years. And it's really about listening. Very much about just listening to this small voice that says, take an umbrella. And it's sunny out. And when you act on that voice, and it starts raining an hour later, you know that you have listened to your intuition. So my practice has been listen to that voice, follow that voice, even when it doesn't make any sense. And it takes being quiet and still and present to recognize that voice.
Yes, I also advocate being out in nature. Nature helps me quite a bit to just settle down the mental chatter, I call it, and to just really sometimes tap into my heart, because I feel like that is really, all parts of my body send me messages all the time, but it's my heart, I feel, that speaks to me, that tells me to do vast changes in my life that I follow and have been leading me to magical places. And I also want to ask you about any kind of creativity that might have emerged as you were doing your healing with your sexuality.
Oh, absolutely. The creativity really requires some space. And so I had that space. And one of the reasons I wrote that second book, Dancing with Breast Cancer, is because I decided, okay, I've got this time and space. I'm going to write another book, but I'm going to write it for me. And I'm going to write it for fun. And I'm going to write it about what I know about. And so for me, that was The Path of the Priestess and Healing from Breast Cancer. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to combine them. I had a lot of fun writing that book, actually. And I think it's got a lot of really beneficial information in it. And then from there, I decided to create an online course from the book and to essentially make audios of the book and put it up as an online course with lots of exercises to help guide women through the process, through the wheel of the year. And I really enjoyed it. It felt very creative. And I didn't sell the course didn't end up selling. I even tried getting beta testers on there. Like, I thought this was what I was here to do. And I entered the book in a contest, and I know it's a good book. There was nothing. It was flat. Everything was flatlined. And yet I had an opportunity to really be creative with it. And I enjoyed that process very much. I decided to go ahead and put the book on Amazon on Kindle earlier this year, just for the heck of it. So it's out there if anybody wants it. And also, Reclaiming Aphrodite is available on my website as a free opt-in gift as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, can you tell us what your website is? Just a little plug for where people can find you.
Absolutely. It's amritagrace.com, AMRITAGRACE.com. And that's also the current website for the Sacred Feminine Mystery School, which I co-founded with Caroline Muir.
Fantastic. So definitely check it out. We'll go to that website and it'll be in the details and the notes so you can click on it. So not to worry if you weren't able to write that down quickly. Amrita has wonderful resources there, and the book that she's going to be offering for us, for listeners who are listening today. So thank you so much. I wanted to know if there's any practices you can share with us to access our sexual energy.
Oh, absolutely. I have some really simple practices that I love to share. And I really like things that are simple and powerful. So the first one that I want to share is I call priming the pump. And that is essentially squeezing and releasing your pelvic floor muscles. Very simple. And what that does is it begins to bring awareness into your first and second chakra. And it begins to pump energy up your spine. You can also add some breathing into that, because our breath is one of our most powerful allies. It really is our access to spirit. It's not just something that keeps our bodies alive. It's how spirit moves through us. So bringing awareness to our breath and to our first and second chakras through squeezing our muscles and letting them go, not too hard, is such a way to come into our bodies. And so that's priming the pump. The second one that I like to teach, you can do these anywhere. Nobody even needs to know that you're doing them. The second one I call stirring the cauldron. And as you're sitting in your chair, you can do this sitting, you can do it standing, you can do it laying down. But even if you're at your desk, you can do this and no one will even know, which is that you just do tiny little hip circles in both directions. Just slow hip circles right in your chair. And breathe. And just notice how that once again brings your awareness into your pelvic region, into your lower belly. And start stirring up the energy that's there. And if you want to, you can combine these two. Just adding a little squeeze to your pelvic floor muscles as you, takes a little bit of coordination. So priming the pump and stirring the cauldron. And so just, if you're practicing that now, just stop for a moment and just feel what you feel. Close your eyes if you can and just feel. What do you feel? Do you notice anything different? Do you notice any tingling or any sensations of energy moving in your body? If you don't, that's okay. It takes a little practice sometimes. But if you do, notice how simple that was and how powerful it is. So anytime you think of it, you can practice these things and start generating that energy. Another wonderful way to access the wisdom of this part of your body is to place a hand on your heart and a hand over your second chakra or your genitals or your lower belly. And close your eyes if you can and take a breath. And just notice what you feel, this connection between your heart and your second chakra. Just notice. I do this every night before I go to sleep. I'm laying down in my bed, place a hand over my heart, hand over my yoni, and I'm just there with my body. So sweet, simple, and beautiful.
Thank you very much. Yes, I did all the exercises as you were saying them, and they are so very powerful. And part of what I do as well is to express them. I write them down as an extension of my intuition, an extension of my body messages. Those of you that just wanted to remind you that you can access Amrita Grace at, what's your website name, address again?
AmritaGrace.com.
AmritaGrace.com, perfect. And if anything is resonating with you about my work as well, you can access my site at wildridersheal.com. And it's just so perfect how the exercises that you just explained, for me anyway, since I'm here right now with you, wanted to share a little bit. So I experienced it, and I just dropped right into my body, right into my sexual center, my yoni, and it helped me to open up a little more. And I also always connect my yoni to my heart center on a regular basis, just to also listen, because for me, that's, I lead my business, I lead my life through my intuition. That's been the major change for my life, and how I utilize my sexual energy to reclaim my power. And that has made a major difference for me, because I no longer focus on the logical, systematic ways that I've been taught to think about things. I still utilize all of those abilities, but just in a different manner. So that's, I feel like that's more of a feminine flow that works for me specifically. I mean, not for everybody, but for me, and has made me feel more relaxed about all of my decisions.
Beautiful.
Is there anything else you wanted to add about your work at this time, that any course that you're offering at the moment that women might be interested in joining?
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you for inviting me to do so. My main work is teaching. I teach introductory weekends, as well as a 5-day retreat in Costa Rica taught with Caroline Muir in late November. of this year, of 2018. And I have an ongoing annual teacher certification training that's a 6-month program.